It is 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and you are watching the Audible. Thank you for watching Sportsbook Review Week 17. Very, very tricky, but thankfully we have the guidance of one Donnie RightSide to help us get through this Week 17. That was a debacle for me last year. Just, oh man, I still have nightmares of what I did Week 17 last year. And but this year instead, just weeks 1 through 16 were the debacle. Donnie RightSide, my man, coming to us live from Philly. How you doing?
Doing good, man. And you're right. I mean, it's like the stock market playing this, day trader, so to speak. Bitcoin lines going up and down, information coming in. Well, we're going to play our starters. We're not going to play our starters. We'll see what happens on Sunday. A lot to decipher today, but we'll go through the card. We'll have some fun doing it and certainly see if we can pick out some of those, Jimmy, that say, you know what? This looks like it's going to be an easy winner.
Yes. And in the Pick Six contest, I found some easy spots. I got the Bears at +7. Now they're at -3. I got the Packers at -9.5. They're now at -12.5, -13. But those weren't available to bet. So I still have not put any action in. Would like to get some action in. Shout out to the Cappers joining us here on December 27th. Happy holidays to all of you guys. We got Vinny Cornell in the house. Dennis Garcia says, all I heard all year was Seattle's defense sucks. The O-line can't pass protect, etc. Now Seattle has a couple of injuries and everyone goes crazy. Says Seattle was +6 at San Francisco. They're +3 in their own building. This makes no sense considering Seattle's dominant record at home in night games. We will be spending special attention to the big NFC West showdown between the Seahawks and the Niners. Drew Barron in the house. We got Prince of the City. Prince of the City's MO is to fade all Philly teams. He did it today. North Carolina Temple. Too easy. Prince of the City. Who needs the cap when all you do is fade your hometown and it works time after time after time? But it did not work against the Cowboys last week. And thankfully, Donnie, I did not hedge my bet. So I desperately need the Eagles to beat the Giants and win the East badly. A nuke worker in the house, Mr. Josh.com, ready to get to work. Donnie RightSide, let's get after it right away. We have a full card to deal with and a lot of twists and turns. Let's start with the Browns. Bengals. Browns open up at -2.5. That's where they stand right now. This total has dropped 2 or 2.5 points from its opening at Pinnacle at 45.5. You can get it there at Pinnacle 43.5 or 43 across the board. Oh, the Browns looked good against the Ravens for what, Donnie? 23 minutes? And then they look like the Browns again. What a perfect way to end the season, losing to the Bengals that can beat them because they're assured of the #1 pick. Donnie RightSide, I would like to bet the Bengals here. Are you going to tell me to pump the brakes? Or do you like what I'm talking about? Opening game, 11 a.m., Browns, Bengals. Donnie RightSide, take it away.
Yeah, this is one that I'm probably going to stay off of all the way around. One of those games that it doesn't really matter technically if either team wins this football game. Cleveland with a couple wide receivers that need surgery in the offseason. Baker Mayfield, who knows what we're going to get? Who knows if their coach is even going to survive another, 36 hours before he gets fired? It's hard to put your money on that, but you do bring up a good point here. Cincinnati can play this football game with, abandon and grace, and they can have a ton of fun, I guess, because if they do win, it doesn't hurt their draft position, and maybe their coach opens up the playbook. But if we're looking at lines -2.5, -3, the Bengals, I mean, it's clear that the Browns are overall the better football team, but do they even care at this point, which is something that you want to take a look at in the same way we look at the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, I know they clinched it. They played really hard last week against a horrendous Dolphins team and still came up with the loss in that game. Now do they come home and say, oh, it's an interstate battle, we really should get up for it? Both of these teams are checked out. It's one of those, I guess, if you're saying you're laying points one way, just take the points in this game. But this by far, to me, Jimmy, is the worst game on the card. I completely stayed away from both side and total in this one, even though you're going to get about 60 degrees at game time in this game.
We've had beautiful weather on the eastern seaboard throughout these last few weeks, other than, say, one game, Chiefs, Broncos, just gorgeous weather, which is something we're not used to. We got Brooklyn Funk Project in the house, Jake Bell joining us, Deer Slayer Ski in the house. This perfect hour to relax and figure out some wagers for Sunday. Leche. Well, Donnie, do you think the Browns want Kitchens as their coach? Is this a perfect spot for them to show that they don't want Kitchens as their coach? Because I'm sitting here thinking, look, if I could get the Bengals, and I know this isn't a marquee matchup, but the Bengals at +135, I find that appealing. I don't need the 2.5 points. Do the Bengals put the nail in Kitchen's coffin, Donnie?
I mean, I think regardless, either way, Freddie Kitchens probably is not going to be back. But if you're looking for a Cincinnati side and trying to get yourself into this one, look, they're playing hard down the stretch, and they haven't given up on the season, even though their record basically indicates they should have given up on the season. Everything is clinched, but you're looking from a quarterback perspective. Andy Dalton's still going to be throwing it around. You still have some capable guys in the backfield. And if last week was any indicator, they're still trying to play to win. So I think, Cleveland coming to town and look, I'm trying to put the best face I can on this game because theoretically, it's so hard to find any angles that make sense. But I don't think whatsoever, Jimmy, the original point, that Cleveland is going to play for Freddie Kitchens and they're going to circle the wagons in the locker room and hand him a game ball after the game's over when they beat the Bengals. I think that's pretty far-fetched at this time. But I do see your point of view here. If you're going to get plus money on this game in a true coin flip of who actually really wants to win this game, taking the home team with some, plus money, that's not really a bad way to go here.
And Bet365 and Bookmaker have moved it to 3 points, the magic number of 3 available. I'm going to need some time to think about this, and I will be drinking heavily with some low baggers tonight at Score on King. If any of you guys want to join us, Score on King, 6:30 p.m., and I will bring up this game, and I'm sure that people will be excited to talk about it. All right, let's talk about Bears-Vikings. Donnie, Bears-Vikings, I got it +7. And it's funny, I got +7 in the contest, pick 6 contest, +7 at -105. Minnesota locked into the 6th seed, game meaningless for both teams, but Trubisky has to kind of end the season on a bit of a high note after his disaster of a season. Minnesota's going to treat it like a bye week, no Cook. Thielen, rest certain players. And when it opened at +1, I was like, I got it at +7. Now it's -3, Donnie. I wish I had jumped on it at +1. Is this a spot where the Vikings don't try and the Bears win this game? This total opened up at 37.5, is now down to 35.5 at Bet Online. Donnie, 35.5 is the lowest total we've seen all season long. Donnie, Bears, Vikings, what do we do here?
Yeah, this is one of those games you should have jumped on right away. And if you just forget about even capping the game, some people lead you to believe that it doesn't matter what the game is, just get the best number and you live with it. There's something to that, but you still want to get the best number, but also be understanding that you like the cap and you like the side. So if you were theoretically firing away, there's no way Minnesota should be doing anything after their loss to the Packers. Kirk Cousins now looks like he's not going to play, obviously. Dalvin Cook's not going to play in this game, probably their second string running back, and they'd be crazy to run Diggs and Thielen out there as well, which also flips it over to the defensive side. You got a couple guys that are nicked up, banged up. You're not going to have your best pass rushers out there. You're going to sit your best corners. So this should be an easy game to have, even midweek when you're looking at the -1s, the flipping it over to the 2s, the 2.5s, and now sitting at the 3s. I even saw this morning, Jimmy, and I'm ready to get trigger happy. And the Bears have burned me quite a bit. 18.5 is a team total that the Chicago Bears are sitting on at 5 dimes. And I still haven't pushed the button because I just get back to watching the Bears. Like, as long as you have, I don't know, crash test dummies out there, 11 of them that don't even move on defense, they probably can still intercept Mitchell Trubisky and turn the football over, and the Bears would be inept, and guys can run wide open down the field. Trubisky's going to overthrow him. 18.5 as a team total should be a license to steal on the Bears in a game that does not matter. We're not talking about windy conditions. We're in a dome. We're on turf. One team could give a damn about this football game and is going to play CFL caliber players, and I still don't know if the Bears can score. It's that outrageous. There's another game we're going to talk about a little bit later, but you should be able to fire at 18.5 as a team total. You should be able to take the Bears at unlimited amounts, and there's a quarterback that if they announced before the game, hey, you know what? This game doesn't mean anything. Trubisky's not going to start. I would unload on the Bears. He's such an awful quarterback. I can't even take him, Jimmy, versus a team that is treating this game as week 4 in the preseason. It's nuts.
It's nuts, but you talk about the team total at 18.5, and I start salivating. So I can understand you being pensive about it, but that may be the best look in this game, the team total at 18.5. Dennis Garcia says last year this game meant the world to Minnesota, and they couldn't beat the Bears who were playing backups. Minnesota had about 5 yards of offense through 3 quarters in the first meeting. Chicago will win. Yeah, Chicago will win, and Minnesota is going to be playing second string and third strings. I'm not going to make a move on Chicago -3. Just because I got them at +7 in the contest. I can't take a 10-point swing. But I find your Bears team total over appealing right now. Very appealing. Let's move on to Falcons Buccaneers. Buccaneers at -1. This total opened up at 49.5. It's now at 48 or 47.5. I know cappers that are on this over, one of them being Flash, who may be joining us in this show. I am concerned about expecting points from the Buccaneers. Their team total overrun came to an end last week when they were held to 20 points against the Texans. And without, the superstar wide receivers, it's hard to back. And O.J. Howard has not stepped up the way that we had expected him to. And Atlanta is still fighting. And it looks like Dan Quinn wants to keep his job. I find this tricky. I find all Tampa Bay home games tricky. I find all Jameis Winston games tricky. Donnie RightSide, Falcons, Buccaneers.
Yeah, it looks like coming back next year already for the Atlanta Falcons. Coaching staff's going to come back. Offensive coordinator is going to come back. New defensive coordinator who's on staff, Raheem Morris. He's going to come back and be the defensive coordinator next year. Even Thomas Dimitroff, the GM, is going to be back. So the one interesting part about this game is now instead of having that heat where maybe, Arthur Blank, the owner, could have waited a day or two after the season to say everybody's coming back, do they take that deep breath? Is everybody happy that they're coming back? And now that they're happy coming back, when you look at it from a coaching side of it, Jimmy, now that you say, I'm back next year no matter what happens, maybe we, settle it down on our quarterback and he doesn't throw as much. Maybe he only plays a half in this game. Julio Jones has been so banged up. Boy, since I'm going to be the head coach next year and everybody's coming back, maybe we sit him at the half or maybe give him a pitch count at wide receiver. This really throws things into a match. The one thing I do like about Tampa Bay, they continue to play hard. But you're right, Jimmy. They don't have the weapons to commit. Jameis Winston, his only goal in this football game is to throw a couple interceptions and be the only guy that enters into the 30 touchdowns or more and 30 interceptions or more for a season, which is absolutely outrageous. If Tampa Bay is smart, there's no way in hell they bring back Jameis Winston next year. But they will play hard in this game. I still do lean towards the Atlanta Falcons in this game, even though it is on the road. And I know Tampa Bay is going to play hard, but the only thing give me a little bit of pause in that is saying, boy, if we all know we're coming back, let's make sure everybody's healthy to start next year and hit the ground running in training camp. That's the only thing, but I think Atlanta is by far the better football team here.
I get it. This is a game with too many variables and makes me want to stay away from it, far away from it. Here's a spot that I made a play in the Pick 6 contest, and the line is the exact same. It's available for me to make a move on, and this is the Saints-Panthers. We know the Panthers have given up, and the Saints need to win to put pressure on the Niners. They win, Niners lose, Saints get the number 2 seed. They get a bye next week, and I think they'll put a beatdown on these sad sack Panthers. In saying that, it is 13 points, and I haven't pulled the trigger. We'll hear what Donnie has to say about this spot. This total has dropped 3.5 points at some books, 3 points from the opener at 48 at most books. Donnie, Saints, Panthers, is there a move to make here?
I agree with the line movement going down because I think the New Orleans Saints are under the adage. We just have to win and get out of here. And if you took a look at seeing what Will Grier has done so far in his early NFL career, all that not really that much excitement. And if we're looking at maybe getting Christian McCaffrey a record book type performance and pulling him out early, that's one way to look at it. It's a hard game to circumvent because you're talking about a dome team going outdoors, laying 13 points, meaning they're going to have to really blow this football team out when they know they don't. It's not really about momentum next week. They're probably going to end up with a bye week. They're going to beat this football team. How motivated can you be? I know Drew Brees was banged up during the week. Same thing with Michael Thomas. They'll both play in this game. Had a little bit of extra time to prepare since they played on Saturday last week as opposed to Sunday. But it's one of those games, Jimmy, do you really want to take a piece of the Carolina Panthers? What exactly are they playing for? And what are they trying to figure out with Will Grier? He was a disaster last week. I don't think that's going to improve all that much. So I actually agree with an under in this game. I think the Saints chew the clock, pick up the win, and then watch the scoreboard to see how much they can advance in the playoffs here just with playoff seeding, Jimmy.
I agree, but I have a rule, and once it hits 3 points of a swing, I let it go because I feel like I've missed it. And it opened at 48, and I could have got it earlier in the week, and maybe it's a Panthers team total under. But if New Orleans gets up by 25 or 30, and they bring in the second and third stringers, which is what I would do, if I coached, it gives me pause. It gives me a pause. What do you think of this at 45, Donnie? Would you still try to get under it, or would you let it go?
I think I would still try to get under. Look, I know like Carolina's going to try to open it up for the quarterback to see what they have, even though they know he's not going to be the future at quarterback. So it's kind of an odd scenario. But just looking at what New Orleans wants to do, a lot of the record book stuff wrapped up. It's outdoors. It's a division opponent. Let's just get this win and get out of here. I don't think any, Drew Brees is going to want to go out here in style and hang 45 and then you head off into their bye week. I just don't see it. And it's really from a perspective of Carolina, Jimmy. Even if you had to go back, maybe Allen was playing where he's a boomer bust type, almost like a Jameis Winston type quarterback, throw 3 interceptions, throw 3 touchdowns, and at least the offense moves. I don't have any, real feel in this game where Carolina's going to move it. So if you're not going to push the New Orleans Saints, I don't think they're just going to run away with this football game. I think they'll just hang out in that double-digit win, pick that up, and I don't think the game goes over the total. I don't.
Jay Peach giving us a final score of 23-17.
Wow.
Dennis Garcia saying, I want to hold my nose and take Carolina. I don't see any reason to bet the Saints at minus 13. I know I gave it out as a contest pick, but at this point, minus 13 just doesn't really appeal to me, especially when guys like Jay Peach and Dennis Garcia are close to going the other way. We got Christopherson Lim joining us, Antoine Seymour in the house, Enter Zone, Drew Barron. Drew Barron says not even DJ Moore playing. How does Carolina move the ball? There is Chris Brady as well joining us. All right, let's keep moving. And the only thing I want to do, make a move on, is I kind of want the Bengals. I want the Bengals. And I'm interested in Donnie's talk about the Chicago team total over. These last 2 games, I think, are going to end up being a pass. Let's get to a very interesting spot here with Jets, Bills. Another wonderful opportunity to watch Matt Barkley in action. I hope Matt Barkley is taking it as a wonderful opportunity because he's not going to have many of these left. This total opened up at 36.5. It's there right now, 36.5. Buffalo opens at minus 1.5 point favorites. There's now a pick-em-up bookmaker and a lot of minus ones. Bills locked into the 5 seed. So this is a bye week. Looks like there'll be a road playoff game likely in Houston. That's what we are expecting. They're going to rest all key players. And for the Jets, they would like to lose. They can get up. They can draft anywhere from the number 6 pick to the number 18th pick. So a win could cost them. But Crazy Gase is just nuts enough to want to win this game and want to win it convincingly. I like the Jets here. I think Gase is nuts enough to want to end the year on a winning note. And I think that the Jets are the spot here, and I would like to take them. But I'd like to hear what you are saying about this. Donnie RightSide. Bills, Jets, meaningless NFL football on Sunday. Are the Jets a look that makes sense?
The Jets are absolutely, Jimmy, a look that makes sense here because you got a football team that's still playing out the string. And you're right. When you're talking about a head coach, Adam Gase, who's taken a lot of shots this year in teams that he's lost to and lost control of the team and what a bad hire and he should get fired. Well, he's trying to rack up as many wins as he can to get to the offseason and say, look, even though our quarterback got, 4 or 5 weeks out for mono and this happened and everybody was injured and we never could come together, look at the way we closed the season, which is always a false bravado once you're out of the playoffs. How you close the season really doesn't make any sense. We're really fighting for it. No, you're really not. You're playing in a pressure-free environment. Your team's actually responding to it, which is the worst-case scenario because when the games actually meant something, nobody showed up to play. But I think the Jets are definitely the player. The one thing I haven't got that confirmation yet, which I hope Sean McDermott is correct in doing this, it doesn't mean anything in this game. Don't let your quarterback play. Don't let Singletary play. Take your top wide receiver out. Take your top pass rushers out. And Tre'Davious White should never see the field in this game, including with guys like Micah Hyde. They should all be on the shelf because this game means nothing. Rest up and get ready for the playoffs. We haven't got that full-blown white flag signal yet, but I'm only looking Jets here. And again, Jimmy, when you take a look at it, I've done very well with team totals and just zeroing in. The Jets team total is sitting at 17. 17 right now. That's 2 touchdowns and a field goal, primarily against what you would think, Jimmy, is backups in the complete second half. Maybe they start the starters and get them a couple plays in just to get them feeling good and make sure they prepared this weekend, or excuse me, for this weekend's game. But 17 is a team total. The Jets should be able to get to 20 points against the Buffalo Bills' secondary guys on defense. And I think the Jets win and cover this football game, Jimmy. I do.
I do as well. And sitting on it, you know what? I got it at plus 1.5 in the contest. Who cares that you might not be able to get the 1.5s anymore? I don't care. You can though at Pinnacle. It's only book left. Yep. But who cares? Dennis Garcia says it right. He says Buffalo played New England last week. They have a playoff game next week. They don't care. And Gay said the Jets are treating this game like a playoff game. Jets win comfortably. Jay Peach says Buffalo going to give it 7% this weekend. 7% of I like that number, Jay Peach. Look, this is standing out at me right now as the best look of the games that we've talked about right now. Yeah. Donnie, what do you think about me saying that? Jets are the best look of the first 5 games that we've spoken about.
I really agree. Because again, that's a great point he brings up, because when we take even if it's the middle of the season, Jimmy, you had your Super Bowl last week again against New England Patriots. You came up small. You said, we're still in the playoffs. We gave it our best shot. Next week is we don't care about, and then let's see what we can do in the playoffs. It's not even a letdown situation, because in that building, there's one goal for this weekend. Let's just get through with no injuries to anybody, and then we'll be rested and ready for the playoffs. That's a disaster if you're betting a team to say, you know what, I like the Bills, they're going to play hard. That's a disaster to bet into. I like the Jets, and I agree with you. The first couple looks, by far the Jets here, Jimmy.
I agree. I'm going to get to the window with the Jets, and I'm going to do that as soon as this show ends. Let's move on to Dolphins-Patriots. This is a interesting spot here. Patriots opening up at minus 15.5, now 16 or 16.5. And there is talk from a bunch of cappers that I know that they want to make a big bet on the Patriots, and I don't see a reason why here. It doesn't make sense to me to back the Patriots. There's no need for the Patriots to win by 3 or 4 scores, and the Fish. I know the Fish. It would be nice if the Fish lose this game to get the best draft pick possible, but Fitzpatrick feeling good about himself. I know this team is terrible on the road, but still, I'm shocked to hear that so many people want to back the Patriots at a giant number. What do you think about this spot, Donnie? Fish, Patriots.
Fitzpatrick's going to throw the entire game. We understand that. He's going to make some plays when the game doesn't matter, and that's the key ingredient here. As we so many times before, Jimmy, we like to take a look at isolation of these games. Look at the first half. They're mostly it's 7.5 at Pinnacle with like minus 127 juice, but outside of that, you can get the 9s and the 9.5s. This is one of those games where New England has 3 or 4 drives in the first half, 7 or 8 minute drives running the football. The Dolphins can't stop anything. They're going to be up double digits at the half. Now, where I don't want is I got in trouble in the past with the New England Patriots, specifically last year versus the Buffalo Bills, where they run wild, get up 21 points, and you're seeing a 16-point line here, and all of a sudden, we're not kicking field goals anymore in the red zone. 4th and 5, we're handing off up the middle and getting 2 yards and giving it back to the Miami Dolphins. And the last thing you want to do with the Patriots, up 3 touchdowns late in the fourth quarter, Jimmy, is get one of your superstars hurt on defense. The game is not going to matter. That's when Fitzpatrick should be able to shine. I don't want to necessarily say I like the Dolphins in this game, but I tell you one thing I do like, the New England Patriots in the first half to be up 17-3 at the half, something of that score. I like the Patriots first half here, not full game.
That makes a ton of sense. Let's see what you get on Patriots first half. New England Patriots first half. They're 7.5, heavily juiced, minus 125. There's an 8.5 at 5 dimes, and there's 9 at a bunch of other books. 9.5 at Bet365. Patriots first half makes a ton of sense, Donnie. It absolutely makes a ton of sense. Like that. Look, we have Gerald Jones joining us as well. That's the Patriots spot. Gerald Jones leaving the book. Just put my action in. Get paid, Gerald Jones. Get paid, Gerald Jones. All right, let's move into Packers-Lions. Packers-Lions. I got this in the contest at 9.5. It was not available to bet at 9.5, but it was available in the Pick 6 contest. It opened at Pinnacle at minus 12.5. That's where it stands now. There's 2 13s on the board at plus money at Intertops and 5 dimes. It's unbelievable, Donnie, to me that we are sitting here and, a 49ers a loss and a Packers win, and the NFC road to the Super Bowl runs through Lambeau Field. Credit to Aaron Rodgers, LaFleur, and everybody for putting this together. Green Bay can control their destiny for a bye week. I think they win. I think they win easily. But is this another spot where a first half bet would look better than a full game spot? Is this similar to the Patriots game, Donnie? Green Bay, Detroit.
It is similar in a little bit of ways, because I think it's the same adage for me anyway. If you're up at the half, I mean, the Green Bay Packers are covering at the half. They're going to cover full game, because the reason that we like maybe the Dolphins to cover full game is because as long as Fitzpatrick plays, he's a staid veteran. He can get it done. He's going to throw in the double coverage. He's going to try to make the plays and boom or bust. Blau has shown me not really too much that unless like Green Bay is going to get up, they're going to continue to play football because they still have a lot invested in this game to try to move up and get that number 1 seed. So in the third and fourth quarter, their top pass rush is going to be in the game trying to collapse that pocket. I don't see a lot of hope for Detroit saying, hey, let's play spoiler in this ball game. I think it's a runaway in this game. And again, you're right. You get the 9.5 for the full game. You really don't want to bet in the 10s and 10.5s and say now you got to win primarily by 14 points in this game. But I would be hard pressed to believe at halftime, Jimmy, like this is like a 9-6 lead for Detroit or 9-6 lead for the Green Bay Packers at the half. I think the Packers win decidedly in the first half and then sort of play it out in the second half because I don't think Detroit has much in order to come back from. So I'm comfortable with taking the first half Green Bay Packers and the full game Green Bay Packers in this game.
Packers first half, you can still get some 6.5s. They're juiced to minus 125, 7s everywhere else. It makes sense to me. It makes a ton of sense to me right now. Brooklyn Funk projects out with Rodgers and Stafford out. The reverse of last year. Is it going to be the opposite? Last year, in that situation, Stafford ran up the score. There was no Aaron Rodgers to answer. It was a 31-0 final score. 31-0 final score. Well, I've written down Patriots first half, Packers first half. But you're right. This could be a first half full game situation for these Green Bay Packers and could be the number one seed, which I can't believe is the case. Let's move on to Chargers Chiefs. Let me move over to full game spreads and totals on the best odds page in the planet, SBR Odds, sportsbookreview.com. Let's take a look at Chargers Chiefs. Chiefs opened up at minus 7.5. They're now at minus 9. This total opened up at 46.5, is now at 45.5. I've not made a move in the pick six contest with the Chiefs. I did not do that. The Chargers are a tricky team to fade, especially after a down season. It just wouldn't surprise me if Lynn wants to end the season on a positive note. And the Chiefs don't need to run up the score in this game. I've stayed away from it at this point. This total's dropped from 46.5 to 45.5. Donnie RightSide, Chargers, Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm the same way with you, Jimmy. I think Kansas City is going to win this football game, but you're right about the Chargers. There's so much talent, but sometimes they just, losing to the Raiders and, blowing out teams like Jacksonville, then embarrassing themselves against upper-level competition, playoff competition, like the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know where their head is at, but I'm going to pretty assume that their coach is probably coaching his last football game. Phillip Rivers is up in the air. Now he's a thumb injury, and he can't throw the football as is, so now you're throwing a thumb. I don't trust anything about this game, but I'm not really trying to get in bed because we know that Kansas City wants improving their stock in the playoffs. Probably not going to happen. They're still going to put out an honest effort in this game, but I don't know if they really care about blowing the Chargers out. It's a game I'm going to stay away from, similar to Cleveland and Cincinnati. Kansas City has more to win in this football game than the Chargers do because I think going on the road last game, let's just not get hurt. We're going to head back, and nobody cares in L.A. about us, even if we won or lost, or hell, even if we probably won the Super Bowl, we probably get a parade as much as like the Devils used to get in the parking lot out in Newark. So I don't think this game really matters all that much. I'm not interested all that way or able to sway. If I had to take a play on it, I probably would still have Kansas City in this game. But outside of that, I'm staying away from this one, Jimmy.
So am I. Joseph Gomez says Chiefs number will continue to climb. Just waiting. Ziggy Balls, possibly Phillip Rivers' last game as a Charger. Drew Barron says, love the Chargers here. They play best as 7-point dogs on the road. They have been for sure this year played better as dogs. Dennis Garcia says, when the Chargers have nothing to play for, they tend to play well. Top Set says Chargers are not a bet on team. It's Chiefs or pass. I'll pass. Ziggy Ball's leaning to the Chargers. Ziggy Ball's leaning Chargers. Yes, Prince of the City leaning to the Chiefs. Chiefs. We got John Cristiano in the house with us. John Cristiano joining us. And Scott says trap game. Scott says trap game, and DeAndre Polk laughing at a trap game in week 17. They exist. They exist. Okay, let's keep rolling and move right into this Titans-Texans spot. Opened as a pick'em. Now it's minus 4.5, 5, or even 5.5 at some books. And we know now that Deshaun Watson is likely not to play. He's questionable right now. Let's give the exact word for what listed as questionable with a back injury. Hopkins listed as questionable for week 17. There's no reason to play them. Flash made a move on these Titans, and I get it. And I might have waited too long to make the move. Is this a spot where Houston doesn't put their best foot forward, even though Bill O'Brien says that they are? I mean, is that a guy you want to trust? Is this a spot where the Titans win easily and book themselves in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think the Titans are going to take care of business here because, Bill O'Brien said a lot of the coaches will say the right things early in the week because it's like if you're in the last week of school and your teacher says, hey, you know what? Grades are already in. It doesn't matter what you do. These guys are going to be a little bit looser in practice. So you always start the tone. We play to win. We're going to get in here with momentum, which means absolutely nothing at this point. Momentum heading into next week. No, you know what your best momentum is? Not having your quarterback with a blown out knee or a twisted ankle or a high ankle sprain heading into next week when you have a de facto bye week and you should be able to use it. Now you're saying, Will Fuller's not going to play in this game. Kenny Stills probably won't play. And then even DeAndre Hopkins now coming down with an illness. What's the point of playing him either? Just run some backups out there. Take knees for all intents and purposes because it doesn't matter on your end. The whole they're a division rival. We don't want to see them get in. That doesn't mean anything. And hopefully the beginning of the week when Bill O'Brien started saying we're going to play to win, ownership came and said, Bill, we'll fire you if you play your starters this weekend. And then he probably backed off a little bit later in the week. So this is a game the Titans should win, and they should win by margin of a touchdown or more. If the Titans are in the second half of this ball game, Jimmy, 17-17 with A.J. McCarron leading the way with a possible victory, well, maybe the Titans should just unload, clear house, and say, you know what, this just wasn't meant to be in our season. They should be up at the half. They should be up at the end of the game, and this shouldn't be one of those games, Jimmy, honest to God, that's 23-20 at the final. The Titans playing against backups, how quality they are on offense, they should be able to rule the day here and win by 7 or more points.
So is this a move that we should be making as soon as possible, Donnie? And also, what do you think about Newkirk saying Texans will know if KC won or lost? That will decide their interest in this game. There is a point there.
I don't think they can even. Can they move up?
Are
the Texans even eligible to possibly move up in this game?
I don't believe they can. I'll double check. I remember thinking that they were stuck in that spot, but I will double check on that as we move on to our next game. And Ziggy Ball says no starters for Houston. This does feel like a gift. Dear Slayerski says should be Titans. Top sets all over. The Titans got them at -3. This makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to back the Titans there. I put them down on my short list, and I probably should have jumped on them earlier. And Nuke Worker says yes, they can. That they can move up. Yes, they can. I'll double check it on that as well. Okay. Let's move on to the next spot. It's Colts, Jaguars. Colts open up at 3.5. They're now 4s at most of these books. This total opened up at 43 and has dropped down to 41.5. Two teams with nothing to play for. And that just increases the volatility and makes me extremely uncomfortable. Free play, I probably put it on the Colts right now, but this is the type of situation where I tried to find an angle last year and it just bit me. Do you think this is a spot where there's any angle to be had with this total all the way down to 41.5 in Jacksonville, Donnie?
You know what's funny about this, Jimmy? I'm actually trying to angle a couple things in here because I think Jacksonville's pretty much given up on defense and given up on the season as a total. Minshew's banged up, and all of a sudden you get Doug Marrone starting to talk about stuff like, we got Nick Foles, but we also have Josh Dobbs, which is a real bell ringer in my head, saying they might be treating this, Jimmy, as week 4 of the preseason, where in the second half, let's just see what Dobbs has. We have no, care about this season, and I'm just going to try to get some tape and evaluate. You also saw another one, Jimmy, where they're talking about through the tea leaves of Doug Marrone saying stuff like, A.J. Boye's banged up. We're going to get some looks at some guys on the outside, which means nobody's going to be in that secondary. And the one thing you do know about Frank Reich is I think they're going to run an honest ship here, which means Jacoby Brissett's going to be our quarterback moving forward. Let's get some good vibes. T.Y. Hilton's going to play. Marlon Mack's going to play. I think they'll be overwhelmed. And I'm trying to look at this team total of 23 for Indianapolis, which if another team is just evaluating out there, I think the Colts are going to be able to hit into the mid-20s and hit that. So if I think they're going to get 24, 25, 26 points for Indianapolis, I certainly think they're going to probably cover this game. Opened up at that -1, -2 is now sitting at 3.5. If you can get a 3, which I do see on the board at some New Jersey outlets, but primarily it's above that, I think Indianapolis wins this game by 7 points, and I think they hit their team total of 23.5.
Yeah, both looks make sense. It's fade Jacksonville. They just are showing nothing late in the season, and the Dobbs report was shocking. I almost thought that was just for show, but you're right. This could be week 4 of the preseason for these Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's move on to Redskins, Cowboys. Cowboys open up at -10.5. They're now at -11. This total opens up at 44.5. Now at 45.5. Man, did they make Danny Dimes? These Redskins make Danny Dimes look spectacular last week, and the Cowboys 11-point favorites right now. And they are Dak's not on any injury reports. So Dak's feeling good. I mean, is this a spot where Dallas just beats up on the Redskins? Because the Redskins care about these divisional games, and Callahan, this might be his last chance at being a head coach. What do you think of this spot, Redskins Cowboys?
Yeah, Callahan is trying to. I mean, I do appreciate what he's doing and saying he would love to be the head coach next year. And I guess the guys behind the scenes probably laughing at those comments. Yeah, Bill, just get us through this last game. Then we're going to go out and get a nice, college kid, the college coach to come in here and do this. But the one thing that's going to be tough for the Washington Redskins, you're right, because after the Green Bay second half that the Washington Redskins played, they lost everybody. They're going to head into this game, Jimmy, with all four of their secondary members out. We're not just talking about from day one where you lost a guy in week 2, week 4. No, from the past 3 weeks, both starting quarterbacks, both safeties out for this football game. Now you're going to play Dallas, which likes to be in those comfy confines of AstroTurf and in a dome and no wind conditions. They rested Dak all week. Dak was fine last week, had no issues whatsoever. They're just trying to protect them. And again, you're right. By not listing him at all on the report, he's just going to take that needle, go out and suit up. And I don't think there's much resistance at all, one bit from Washington. So you say, all right, well, maybe Dallas has given up. They're getting rejuvenated as the week goes on because, again, the Eagles got injured again in the week last week. And they're going into Dallas looking at this game saying the Eagles are going in to play the Giants. There's a good chance they can lose. So sort of invigorated. I don't know if their defense is going to play all that well, but who do you if you can't stop 35-year-old Adrian Peterson, McLaurin's not even going to play in this game at wide receiver. The Redskins have absolutely nothing. You get maybe a little bit of a bonus bump and say Keenum's going to come in and take over for the rookie. But outside of that, they have nothing. No offensive line, barely a running game, no wide receivers, Case Keenum at quarterback. Good luck if you're betting the Skins in this game.
What a mess the Skins are. So is this another spot? And I've listed more games than I was hoping to list on this short list for me, but Patriots first half, Packers first half, is Cowboys first half another look, or is this a first half full game? What do you think here?
Yep, I think you're right on point there, Jimmy, because you're going to get probably that 6.5 type range on the Dallas Cowboys. They should do whatever they want to the Redskins. I mean, the Redskins are horrendous now in defense. You can hand it off to Zeke 25 times and whole run wild. You can throw the ball straight up in the air as a punt. There's nobody back there to defend it for Washington. So I like them in the first half. I like them full game as well. And I do think the Dallas Cowboys put up some points in this game also.
Yeah, and Keenum will be throwing the ball all over the place with reckless abandon, I am sure, which means that total is in play. If you want the Cowboys, it is 6.5 right now, and that's just up to -120. So we'll certainly see sevens come game day, and that total has gone up to 45.5. It's gone up 1 point. If you had a free play on this total at 45.5, Donnie, would it be to the over?
You know what? I would, because I just you see what Washington has done, and they don't have anything back there. And if you're going to be the Dallas Cowboys, you're a quarterback, Dak Prescott. You still want your $40 million, right? So do you want to go in the hole after the Eagles game and say, "Boy, I never recovered"? Or wouldn't it be nice, Jimmy, to throw for 375 and 5 touchdowns this week against Washington? Say, hey, you know what? Even though the Eagles might have beaten the Giants, we gave it our best shot. We got out of here. There's still a lot to play for Dallas, and absolutely zero to play for the Redskins. So I'm looking at these type of situations, two bad football teams, especially on defense. I think Keenum's going to make some mistakes, but I would be hard pressed to think that the Dallas Cowboys won't be in the 30s by themselves. So that should lend to an over.
It should. It absolutely should. All right, Donnie, let's move on to your Philadelphia Eagles. Man, it just keeps getting worse and worse. Zach Ertz will not be playing for the Eagles, so they can't even use that 2 tight end set anymore. I mean, you can tell us if they can still use it without Ertz, but Eagles, Giants, Eagles opening up at -4.5. There are 4s, there are 4.5s. This total opened up at 44.5. Now we see 45s, and that's it. There's no 45.5. These Eagles, Donnie, one of the thoughts that I had was making a move. God, on the over. I thought about making a move on the over as we capped this show, or this game on today's show. We have Teddy Covers making a move on the Giants and the over, and it just feels like this Philly team is banged up enough that the Giants are going to get some points here, and the Eagles are going to have to put up points just to stay in this game. Bovada just moved from 4.5 to 4, so Bet Online is at 4.5. And every other book is at 4 right now for the Eagles. Can't wait to hear your Eagles breakdown. We love your Eagles breakdowns, Donnie RightSide. It's all on the line. My division play on the Eagles is on the line. I have no need to compound losses to make a bet on this game. What do you think is going to happen here? Danny Dimes coming off a 5-touchdown, 0-interception performance last week after missing 2 weeks. We know the Eagles are beat up. Donnie, take it away. Eagles, Giants.
Yeah, last week was one of my best misses there because I didn't see the Eagles even having a path to victory over the Dallas Cowboys unless Dallas completely threw in the towel and laid a clunker, which they did. But the Eagles still had to go out there and win it, and that said something for the coaching staff and the quarterback who's been absolutely amazing this year with zero talent, and now they take away his best option again. Wentz, as we know, a God-fearing man, Jimmy, probably saying, well, hey, I guess, God does things for a reason, or however he's looking at it, but they're still able to get 2 tight end sets. They did sign Richard Rodgers, who will be their backup tight end. But this is a game when you look at it, it's not so much can the Eagles win this game, because I do think they will win the game, but they don't have the ability anymore, Jimmy, to just go out there and blow a team off the map. The Giants are horrendous on defense, one of the worst in the NFL, and the Giants have some capable pieces on offense. But the one thing that is really interesting, and I had to think about this today, first time since 2004 the Eagles are going to face the Giants without Eli Manning. And God, I just wish Eli, why can't they just put Danny Dimes on the bench, send Eli out there one more time? Because the Eagles have ran a train on the Giants for 15 straight years with Eli Manning under center, and he's not going to be there. So it's an interesting cap, because now you actually have a guy who can get away from the rush. Now you have a guy that just doesn't, 3 guys get around him and he throws the football and turns his shoulder and looks to get down, and it's an easy interception, which Eli Manning is an absolute turnover machine. Now you don't have that. So do I think the Giants are going to be up for this game? I don't. Pat Shermer's fired after this football game. This isn't a win-win for the coach or any feel-good feelings. The Eagles are a really sound football team with a great coaching staff. They should be able to handle their business, but I don't want to take them at -4. I think this has a close game feel even in the second half, because it's not so much that the Eagles aren't the better football team. The Eagles don't have the capability to go out there and probably put up 35 points in this game, keeping it more on the ground, controlling the line of scrimmage. They should be okay in that fashion. Initially, I did agree, Jimmy, in taking the over, but now that I look at the Eagles' path to victory, I don't really know if it shows as an over. It's more of, we get Jordan Howard back. Miles Sanders has been tremendous. Let's dink and dunk down the field, because the Giants won't have a capable pass rusher, even a secondary. We'll take our shots here between the 5 and 10 yard marks and move it down the field and just wear them out, because at the end of the day, the Eagles are probably going to be moving on to the playoffs. The Giants are going to be moving on with a new coach, and they just want to get healthy into the offseason. I think the Eagles win the game. I don't want to lay the 4 or 4.5 points, but I am coming off of the over, which I really liked early in the week, now saying, you know what? This might be a little bit closer, that 23-20 type of feel.
Interesting. A lot of people been talking about the over, and you were initially on it. Interesting to hear you study yourself off of it. And the market's done the same. I mean, the market's down to 44.5. Pinnacle's dropped at a full point right now. I'm going to stay off this game. I'm too concerned of the Eagles blowing this, although I expect them to take care of business. And I know a lot of people are on the Giants right now, liking that 4.5 points. And Donnie's right. This could easily be a close game. Gerald Jones says, I think Eagles and Cowboys both win, but don't cover. Let's move on to another interesting spot here. Robert Griffin III, Robert RG3, will be behind center for these Baltimore Ravens at home against the Steelers. Steelers open up at -2. That's where they are right now, although BetOnline is at a pick'em -125 for the Steelers. This total opened up at 38. It is now at 37. We've talked on Betting with the Bag this morning about, how many points do we think Lamar Jackson's worth? And when Teddy Covers was asking people, they were saying between 6 and 10 points. And when I see the Ravens on 3rd and 10 with all the receivers covered and a spy on Lamar, or even 2 spies, and he still gets the 10 yards, those are backbreakers. And backbreakers that Robert RG3 is not capable of making. And you look at Ingram being hurt, and you look at some of the defenders they're going to keep out. I don't know. I'm not as excited about the Ravens as a lot of people are. I would love to hear what you think of this spot, Donnie. And Teddy Covers is on the Baltimore Ravens. Steelers, Ravens, Sunday. What do you think, Donnie?
It's really interesting, and it's interesting to hear Teddy on that side of it, because old me would have already fired the minute the line came out on the Chicago Bears to beat the Minnesota Vikings, and the same way in the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, because one team could care less about being there. The other team has everything to play for. Not so much the Bears, but obviously the Pittsburgh Steelers, still with a shot to get in the playoffs. And last week, I bet the game last week, team total over for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm watching myself the past 2 weeks, even with Duck Hodges. Honestly, Jimmy, if the Steelers came out and said, look, Mason Rudolph's out for IR, Duck Hodges isn't good, we're going to put the Wildcat in the entire football game and not use a quarterback, I'd say, you know what? I'm going to bet the Steelers in this game because that's how bad Duck Hodges is. He looked like a little kid last week versus the Jets. He couldn't catch the snap. He's throwing, passes to corners, and it was unbelievable to watch how little he looks like he's an NFL quarterback. And I'm surprised he's on a roster and they already haven't made a move to bring just some guy off the street to step in for Hodges. But when you look at the Ravens, RG3 is not a bad backup quarterback. And how many points do the Ravens actually have to score? What's the ceiling is what you want to talk about for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not to win the football game, but for points. 17? So if you're looking at maybe a 3-point line, the Ravens are going to be in this game, and they have no business being in this game, but that's just how inept the Steelers are on offense. Because even when you looked at last week, Jimmy, versus the New York Jets, you saw Connor in the first half. He had the burst. He looked like he had it back. Let's lean on Connor. And again, he gets hurt, and he's out for that game, and he's out for this game. There's no talent in the backfield. Their offensive line, they lost their starter at center in Pouncey. You have a quarterback that's not an NFL player. Juju Smith-Schuster's on one leg. You're relying on some rookies out there on the outside. Do the Steelers have an unbelievable defense? Yes. But unless the Steelers defense puts up 14 points, I'm not so sure if the Steelers can get past 17. So it's a no. How crazy is that? It's a no bet when one team needs everything to get in the playoffs and the other team is resting everybody, and I'm not taking it. It's crazy, but I can't. I can't back the Steelers with Hodges a quarterback.
It makes sense. He's looked terrible, especially of late. Drew Barron saying Duck is horrific. G-Saw saying Hodges is trash. Jay Peach says Baltimore's backup D is going to eat. And Drew Barron thinks Ravens are a sharp play. And Casey Koenig's on Ravens money line says Ravens money line looks good. My guy DeAndre saying the Steelers are the play. Says this game is like last week when everyone was on the Cowboys and fading the Eagles. DeAndre doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. Nuke Worker agreeing with Donnie in this spot. Steelers, Ravens. I still don't want to pull the trigger on RG3 and the Ravens. Are you going to get to the window with the Ravens, Donnie?
No, I won't. It's really only because it's hard for me to get by saying, I just laid my hard-earned cash on a team that doesn't really care about the final scoreboard when it means everything to the other team, regardless of how bad the quarterback situation is. This is a stay away. I'm just shocked I haven't pulled the trigger like the minute it came out on the Steelers and said, well, I'm just going to live with it because this team needs to win and the other one doesn't. It's amazing how bad some of these quarterbacks are. We say, you know what? It doesn't even matter the circumstances. I can't even back this team. It's crazy.
Oh, man, I feel you. This feels like a stay-off game. Let's move on to a bet that I want to make. And even if Kyler Murray plays, which I don't think he's going to play, and I think the Cardinals saying that Kyler Murray is questionable is just going to give me a better line. I do not expect Kyler Murray to be playing, but I'd love to hear your look on this. Rams, at this point, seem like the play. I just feel like, okay, well, when I took it in the contest, I thought McVay was prepping for Hundley and he was going to take control. Rams can finish off a disappointing season on a positive note, but now, and I thought that Kyler Murray certainly wasn't playing, and now it looks like he may play. I still think the Rams are the look, but does everything change if Kyler Murray is in the lineup? And do you expect him to be in the lineup? Donnie RightSide, Cardinals, Rams.
I had a team total last week on Arizona, and I still had this crazy. You had to sweat it out because Kyler Murray being out of the lineup. And look, Hundley still led him to a touchdown drive late in the game, but it's pretty clear that offense really doesn't move at a quick of pace, or you get those electric plays where if the play breaks down, he can run outside the pocket and still throw with some accuracy. There's no way he can play in this game. The kid's got a hamstring injury. You're going to risk him to some further, maybe shoulder damage or leg damage because now you can catch up. There's no way he plays in this game. But also, Jimmy, looking at the Rams side, McVay saying, look, we're going to play a lot of our backups in this game. Jalen Ramsey already out for this game. They're not going to risk him, obviously, with him being a free agent. I don't know why you would put Jared Goff in harm's way or Cooper Kupp or anyone at your Brandon Cooks to get another one of those devastating, head injuries. Maybe they play for a little bit and sit out. This is one of those games I think is going to get treated like a preseason game. And if that's the case, I'm not going to be betting this game. But if I did have to bet this game, I would take as many points as I can with the Arizona Cardinals, just because I don't think the Rams really care about playing in this game or setting up something for the offseason. They just don't want to get injured going in. Todd Gurley's not going to make any appearances. And if you're down so many players on one side of the ball, I would just lean on the points in these type of games. I would lean Arizona in this game.
That makes sense. After that breakdown, is the look on the under? Do we want to go under the total?
Yeah, no, I would agree with the under as well because you're not getting. Again, this is all prefaced by saying I don't think Kyler Murray is going to play. Arizona's not nearly as dynamic with him out of the lineup. Are you going to run the football and chew up the clock and open your playbook up for the backup? Probably not. So I would lean on an under in this game. I would.
Makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. Let's move on to the next game on the card. A game that a couple of our Cowboys in the chat have been wanting to talk about a lot. The Broncos. Denver Broncos. Opening up at -3. Now there are 3.5s on the board. This total at 41. The Raiders have a tiny sliver of hope to get into the playoffs. I can't even believe I'm saying that out loud. I can't believe I'm saying DX56 still like Rams. Brent Huntley is shit. And Scott says, where's the Texas versus Titans line? We did break that game down, and if your book is hanging it, which most are, it's at 5.5 right now. 5.5. And Gerald Jones saying that sounds like an under. All right, let's talk about this spot with the Broncos. Do the Broncos, who have ended the season on a positive note, smash their division rival in the mouth here against the Raiders, who still have a tiny sliver of a chance to get in the playoffs if everything breaks right, which I doubt, which the odds say are very slim. Broncos at home to the Raiders. Donnie RightSide, take it away.
Yeah, I like Denver. I think Denver would be a play here. Obviously outside of that snow game in Kansas City where they really didn't show up. But, hey, Kansas City played well in that game. Kansas City's a better team. Outside of that game, when they had Drew Lock, they look like a formidable opponent. And it's funny because, yes, the Oakland Raiders still have technically a chance at the playoffs. It's always nice when you hear the inside rumors from sources that said the Raiders were surprised when they heard they still had a chance at the playoffs. And again, Jacobs isn't going to play. Got some sort of skin infection. He's going to miss this game. And when he is out as the engine to the offense, and you say, oh, well, they beat the Chargers. I mean, I understand all that. The Denver Broncos are a better team right now than the Chargers are and care a whole hell of a lot more about playing under their freshman head coach, who's an old man, Vic Fangio. But he's going to be back next year. Locke's going to be back. They're still trying to build towards the future and stack wins. I don't really know if this is a great spot for the Oakland Raiders. Do I love the game and I want to take a rookie quarterback laying more than a field goal? Probably not. But looking at the game overall, they're just a better overall football team in a better spot, actually trying to win underneath the mask of, well, the Raiders have an outside shot at getting the playoffs, which they really don't technically. But if I had a free play on this game, I would be taking the Denver Broncos here, Jimmy.
I would as well. What do you think of this total, Donnie? Opening at 41, now down to 40.5.
Yeah, give me the over in that game too. Because again, when you're looking from Denver, and it's the same type of thing when you don't really have much to play for, but you want to evaluate your quarterback. You want to give him the full playbook. This isn't one of those games where you're just trying to play defense and punt to pick up a victory. You can use this as a scenario saying, let's see what we can do against a weaker defense here and really open it up. I think Denver scores some points, and I think Oakland can return the favor in some portions here. So 41's not a really crazy number, especially when you talk about 41 or 35 degrees, not a ton of wind. Your normal Denver day, they should be able to get that total.
It is a pretty nice Denver day. Yeah, I have 37, a high of 37, which is about 32 or so, 33 at game time, just 11 miles per hour. If on Saturday it's snowing and 31, that's a spot where you would love to have the Denver Broncos here. Ziggy Ball says, I lean Denver on the spread. Says Carr not good in cold games. My only concern, does John Gruden want to finish 8-8? I don't think he cares that much about that. Top set says I like Raiders team total over as a lean. Let's finally talk about a game that means something. It means a whole lot. Seahawks Niners in Seattle. Niners opening up at -1. In the contest made it a bet at -3 at -123 because the threes were going, Donnie, and I thought the threes were going to be gone, and they were. There were 3.5s, and now the threes are back. Money coming back in on the Seattle Seahawks. I find it very, very difficult to believe that without Dwayne Brown protecting the rush, that they're going to pull Marshawn Lynch off the couch and he's going to be able to deliver the goods. And Robert Turbin, come on. I just find it ridiculous to believe. Jadeveon Clowney, Shaquille Griffin will likely be in the lineup. Quandre Diggs says he's close. That's a high ankle sprain. I do not expect Quandre Diggs to be playing. I know that the Niners have injuries, but this to me is a Niners -3, and I'm happy money's coming in on the Seahawks. I want to pull the trigger on Niners -3, and I couldn't do that. And now I can. Now it's a -3 at -125 in my book, where it had moved to 3.5. Donnie, this game does mean something. It means a lot. Niners, Seahawks. Do you have a look here?
It's going to be – I love the fact that it's going to be that Sunday Night Football game with so much on the line. But I'm going to preface my cap by saying Seattle's going to lose this game, and they're going to lose to whoever they play next week because the jig is up, so to speak, for Seattle. Their defense is horrendous. They were literally built on Russell Wilson making plays off of a pounding running game. Penny was really coming on the end of the season. Chris Carson was a monster. And anytime you go into the playoffs with Russell Wilson, a running game where he's got the ability to make some plays, and maybe if you have home field advantage, you can make a run. But, it's Marshawn back in the league is fun. It really is. You see him out there. He's not going to give his press conferences. You want to see what he says, and it's fun. And then he gets in the game, rushes 2 times, pulls a hamstring, and it's no more fun for Russell Wilson. You're pulling a guy off that hasn't been in the NFL all season long, and you see the pundits sometimes on TV, hey, man, the identity is back. What identity? You tell me you'd rather have Marshawn Lynch than Chris Carson and Rashard Penny? Come on, man. I mean, let's be serious about this. Their running game is going to disappear. Their offensive line is a mess. Even if Jadeveon Clowney comes back with that injury, he's half the player he was when we saw him last time against the San Francisco 49ers. Bobby Wagner's injured and having a terrible year compared to him. Their secondary is a travesty. So now you're going to rush back your best cornerback who has a hamstring injury and try to get a guy on a high ankle sprain in Quandre Diggs to play in your secondary. Nothing looks good for Seattle outside of you do have Russell Wilson, one of the top 10 best players I've ever seen in my life in the NFL. He would have to play almost perfect football to stay around in this game. San Francisco 49ers are going to win this game. And again, Seattle's already in the playoffs. Doesn't matter if they play the Eagles next week. Doesn't matter if they play the Philadelphia Eagles. They're getting beat again next week by whatever team is. They're leaking oil at the end of the season while other teams are gearing up. They're not as good as the 49ers. The 49ers are sure that Sunday night, and then the Seattle Seahawks will be out quickly in round 1. So regardless of how many tests that Marshawn Lynch fails for edibles or THC or weed, he's only going to be around for a week and a half. So no big deal.
G-Sauce 35th in the Pick 6 contest, and we are cheering for you. G-Sauce is making the Seahawks his 2-unit play. He says that Russell Wilson is magic in the clutch. Well, he's going to have to be. Donnie RightSide, it sounds like your Niners -3 with the leaky Seahawks defense means that you'd be interested in a Niners team total over as well. What do you think about the Niners team total over? What do you think about the full game over?
Yeah, and again, we're talking about what a blessing it has been. We're total backers, which most of us are, total taken to the over. 45 degrees in Seattle, no rain, 3 miles an hour. That says over to me because the one thing you need to do is the same thing we've talked about all year. You got to push some of these teams because they can score. If you let Seattle in a game 3-3, 6-3, 10-7, they'll slow it down. They'll run 3rd and 4. They'll throw a 5-yard pass. But if you have an offense that can get after your defense like San Francisco can versus Seattle, I like the overs. I like the team total overs, and I like the game total over as well, Jimmy. Even though it is a playoff atmosphere and they tend to go a little bit lower scoring, I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to open up that playbook and decimate that weak defense for Seattle.
Damon says, Marshawn, my boy. Hey, we all like him. We like him, but that doesn't mean we want him to come off the couch and, be our number 1 running back. Dre saying Seattle is running on fumes. Carson and Penny were huge for the offense. Yeah. G-Sauce says Jimmy G will fold under this kind of pressure. Ziggy Ball says, I lean Seahawks on the spread. Everyone on Niners plus. Lynch is back, but it's a tough game. I just don't like Niners -3. I do like Niners -3. Jay Peach saying 49ers win by 10-12. And very noticeably, if the team totals here, 25.5 for the Niners at Bet365, just 20.5 for the Seahawks. So a 5-point spread there, but a 3-point spread. Or 3-point spread in this game at -125. Dre saying Kittle also will be a tough matchup for Seattle. He was not available for the first matchup. And Drew Barron says, great breakdown, fellas. Let's finish the season strong. Chris Brady is already over the 46.5. So, Donnie, what appeals to you more, a Niners team total over 25.5 or a full game total over 46.5?
You know what? It's crazy to say that because if you think San Francisco is going to win, you're probably going to get the team total. I really like that Seattle over 20.5 because Russ isn't going to give up even let's just say they're losing, which I think they're going to be. Russ is going to have his hands on the football with a chance to cover that team total. So I actually like it all 3 ways: team total San Francisco, team total Seattle, and then if you can get the 46.5, which is out there at Chris, but primarily 47s, I think both of these teams will be in the 20s here, Jimmy. It's really good weather, and you have 2 dynamic offenses that if Russell Wilson is forced to be a dynamic offense, he can do that by himself. So I like it. Look, the first game went over the total if it was 47. Why can't this one?
I'm leaning in that direction. I'm going to take a little bit more time on it. Chris Brady says I already bet the over 47, but Jay Peach going the other way says, I think this is a huge under game. Slow paced, in my opinion. Says, I see San Francisco up 17-7 at the end of the third. DeAndre saying San Francisco defense has been leaky the past few weeks. Well, let's take a look at this card in its entirety right now. I think what jumps out at me after this full breakdown is the Jets plus 1.5. I find very appealing. Packers first half and Cowboys first half. The Titans has got to be on my card. And after this breakdown, the Colts are interesting. So before we did this breakdown, I liked the Bengals and I liked the Jets, two terrible football teams. But now after this, I think the Patriots first half, Packers first half, Cowboys first half, a triple spot there, and then the Titans, Colts. What jumps out at you as your one or two favorite plays on this card, Donnie?
Yeah, I think the Jets is a strong play there. Indianapolis, look, if it's 3.5 and you think Indianapolis is going to win the football game, which I do, which actually is basically the play in that game is I don't think Jacksonville can win or cares about winning in that game if we're going to be going down to a third string. That's probably not going to be the case with Indianapolis. I think they win that game. I think Tennessee, even though that line, you missed out on a great number. If I have Tennessee by 7, that's not going to say, hey, you know what? At the end of this game, does Houston care if it's a 6-point game or a 5-point game or a 10-point game that they get down the field and kick the field goal and kick the onside kick to try to get – no. I think Tennessee is going to win that game by margin, so I'll stick with that as well. And I really am starting to dig that New England first half because I do think Fitzpatrick is going to try to be some sort of spoiler if he can, but that's not going to come to the fourth quarter. I think New England does one of those things where they really get entrenched up by a touchdown at the end of the first quarter, which means they'll probably win the second quarter as well and cover that first half.
Yeah, I was hoping not to have too many plays, but there's a bunch on my card right now. Donnie, can we go back to your you getting off the over in the Eagles game quickly? Because the over was going to be on my card. Can we just touch on that briefly one more time, why you've moved back? And it's because you think Philly's going to want to control the clock?
It's not so much controlling the clock because now you're at a point in the season, Jimmy, week 17 for the Eagles. You shut the scoreboards off. And you know what the only thing the Eagles care about? It doesn't matter if they win ugly or win it. They have to win the game. So I don't think it matters to them. And I think their pathway to victory here is let's lean on our offensive line. They don't have a very good defensive line or athletic linebackers. Let's move the change. And it just comes back to it doesn't really matter what total you need, whether it's 41 or 49. I like to have a team on both sides that says, you know what, when they need it, they can hit that 65-yard play. The Eagles aren't throwing very much deep in this football game. I mean, you're going to have Dallas Goedert over the middle. Greg Ward's not going deep. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's not going deep. And then conversely, on the opposite side, you're saying as an Eagles secondary and defense, let's not blow this game. And you're going to lean on Saquon Barkley. If both teams don't really return fire, it's hard for me to take a total. It's not so much that they can't get the over. I just see from an Eagles side, I don't know if it's one of those games to say, hey, Wentz, throw 45 times and let's air it out. It's more likely to move the chains, 7, 8, 9 play drives that if they result in points, you're just looking to take the lead as opposed to say, hey, 4th and 2 from the 16, let's go for it. That's just the way I see this game. The only reason why I came off the total, Jimmy.
Very, very interesting. And I think that I've got enough on my plate here. I could take off the Bears team total over, although I like it and I like that breakdown. I could take off that Philly over. I don't want to have too many looks because of what the horrific week 17 I had last year. Donnie, I know this is an NFL show, but we have 2 giant games tomorrow. Games tomorrow. Semis to see who's going to play for the national championship. Is there in the LSU game or the Clemson-Ohio State game, is there anything that's any one team jumping out at you in tomorrow's big bowl action?
Yeah, I've been Clemson all year long, and I'm going to stay Clemson even through this week because Clemson's coming in healthy. As soon as I heard the reports coming out for Ohio State that Fields is going to come into this game, wear a brace, he's 80%, that just hits a bell in my head that says, if you're not going to be completely healthy at quarterback and he's dynamic with his legs, maybe you can't get away. Maybe it's 3rd and 7, Jimmy, where in September he runs for 14 yards and a first down, but now he actually gets sacked or tripped up in the pocket. The minute I heard that, I liked it even more. I've been a Clemson guy all season long. They've been destroying everybody, and I just think they're a better overall football team that's been there and done that before, and I think they win this football game. I like that. And then also the Oklahoma game. I don't think Oklahoma's going to win this game, but the fact that LSU's top running back, who has 1,300 yards on the season, is going to give way possibly to a guy that has like 270 yards on the season. They don't need any style points. They're not trying to win Heisman trophies or get ranked number 1 or get better seeding. The seeding is what it is. I think LSU wins, but if you're going to give me 14 points, I'm going to lean on Oklahoma in that game. So give me Oklahoma in that game tomorrow and give me Clemson.
I love it. I love it. There you have the breakdowns. We've talked NFL. We've broken down the entire Week 17 card. We are going to be moving to Wednesdays through the playoffs. One show a week, Wednesdays, Whale Capper, Donnie RightSide, and myself. But we have no show without these great cappers in the chat. Tom Marino, Tomor, G-Sauce, Gerald Jones, Nuke Worker. What a great, great, great group we have here. Chris Brady, Antoine Seymour, Deer Slayer, Ski, Jim Rome's a douche, DeAndre Pope, Deer Slayer, Ski, representing his Islanders. I'm on the Islanders. They better take care of business here. Dre Machi, Damon Santore, Ziggy Balls. Thank you guys so much. Donnie RightSide, any last words for these great cappers in the chat and those watching at home?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun on this season. Week 17, hopefully we'll end it in style. The playoffs are coming. I mean, look, the best part about it is we think it's like a funeral here, Week 17, but the party only gets started here. We'll be having fun all throughout the playoffs, right through to the Super Bowl. Thank you guys for tuning in all season long with us. And hopefully we'll put a little bit more money in your pocket, Jimmy. It's been a lot of fun through 17 weeks, me and you, Jimmy. Whale Capper joining in and, carrying the show. And we'll see what happens in the playoffs, but I'm excited. And it's a fun time to be alive, especially with the college football playoff and the NFL playoffs, Jimmy. Been so much fun working with you. A couple more weeks to go. Let's finish strong here.
Let's finish strong. It's been a tough year. I had 2 very nice years in front of everybody and then take it right in the bottom mouth, right in the drink hole so far. But there's still time. There is still time. I need the Eagles to win this week, and I like the looks that we made here on the card. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let's have a big Week 17, but let's not bet too many games. Week 17. This blew up in my face last year. I know that we can fix some of the mistakes that we made last year, Week 17, but it's still very fresh, the horror show from last year. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let's get that cash. See you guys on Wednesday for our first playoff episode of the Audible. Have a great weekend and happy holidays.